So hello gamers, a lot of guns are only specifically good for one range, but a lot of people want to know what's the best close range gun and what's the best long range gun or medium range gun or something like that. So today I took 3 top picks from every single one of these ranges, and I'm going to be showing you 3 guns from each. Now starting it off for close range, the first gun is the Chris Vector. The Chris Vector is one of the most well-known guns in this entire game, and it has been for many years. It's a popular gun in a lot of games, and it's also popular in this game. The main reason for this is because it is incredibly strong in close range, with one of the fastest automatic fire rates in the game, a 3-shot kill up close, a fast reload, and fast handling. This makes it so good for just killing people in like 1 second up close. It actually has a minimum time to kill of 0.1 seconds, which means it can kill 10 players in a second, essentially, if you're shooting one player to the next. But regardless, this just shreds up close. It also has like pretty good accuracy, considering it has 1200 rounds per minute and is a 45 ACP. Consider this, it has the same rounds as the MAC-10 and shoots faster than the MAC-10. However, for some reason, it has a lower recoil than the MAC-10. You would think it would have slightly higher recoil, but the reason that it has such good recoil is because it has a patented recoil system, which essentially means that it's really hard to explain, but the bolt goes back into the mag. If you look at the magazine, it's a very large magazine well, but the magazine is really skinny. So if you wanted to know why it's like that, that is why. This is a very close competitor to the K7, but up close, it's going to beat the K7. It has better hits to kill and better RPM, which overall translates to a much faster time to kill. You need 75% of the hits required to kill somebody, and it shoots 100 RPM faster, which translates to about like 2 bullets per second faster or something. Yeah, about like 1.8 rounds per second faster. You will notice that this is a bullet hose, but as long as you're looking at a guy, it will kill them. About 25 rounds, I mean, use them wisely, because if you don't use them wisely, you lose. But yeah, one of the best CQC guns. This is undisputed because it just has one of the fastest time to kills, and overall, like, the handling is still really good. The next gun here is the M231. M231 shoots a little bit faster than the Vector, actually does about the same damage but drops off way less at range, and has a bigger mag and a faster reload time. Of course, there is one major downside, and that is how it's the highest recoil gun in the entire game. Per shot, no, but because of the RPM and the actual recoil per shot with how many shots you're shooting. Yes, the BFG and like the M107 have more recoil per shot, but like overall this has way more recoil. And also the M107's a sniper. The recoil doesn't really matter as much. But yeah, I mean, it's a monster, bro. If you've played this game at all, you probably have heard of this gun. A fun fact about this, it actually used to be a meme gun. Nobody thought it was actually that good, which is kind of surprising considering it never really got like a huge buff or anything. It always was kind of like how it is. But yeah, you've heard about this one. But the third top pick for close range is going to go to the MAC-10. The thing about the MAC-10 that makes it a little bit better than the Vector in some aspects is that it does a little bit more CQC damage. Only one, but it can 2-shot headshot because of this. It also has a bigger default capacity and a little bit more reserve ammo. I'd say the Vector is probably better overall, but this is still a very good option if you just don't have it. If you're a low rank, this is like rank 20, and considering it's rank 20, as long as you just buy an AMT Terminator or just alt-aim, or you can figure out how to use it with like irons or something, then it really does shred up close. And while I would consider it to be a little bit worse than like the Vector, I would not say it's by any means a bad gun. Definitely not a gun I would buff, because in its current state, it is very good. It's really fun to use. It's very challenging, I'd say, because the recoil is pretty high. It should be, considering it's like 1100 RPM and 45 ACP. The damage ranges of this thing are probably some of the worst in the game, if not maybe the worst in the entire game. No joke, it's 20 to 70 studs, which plenty of guns have a 70 stud max range, but this one is done dropping off and is 18 damage at 70 studs, which is not that far away. That's like, I'm not even sure how far away it is. It's not that far away though. But for our first gun for medium range, we have the L85A2. Now the L85A2 performs very well in medium range, but it also performs very well at long range. This is because it has a 25 minimum damage, which means it can 4-shot kill at all ranges. It also has very high velocity, very high pen. Well, yes, it does have some pretty annoying camera recoil, I'd say. That doesn't mean it's impossible to hit shots at range. If you really look at it, the accuracy is super good. It just has a lot of like initial vertical climb. If you pull down a little bit after the first shot, it is very accurate. And trust me, you can get some pretty far kills. I'd say overall, this is one of the best assault rifles for like the assault rifle roll. But then we have a surprising medium range gun, the MP5. In terms of close range PDWs, this one could be better. It only has a 3-shot, it doesn't 2-shot at all, and the 3-shot kill range is basically nothing. It's also a little bit slower in terms of RPM than the other PDWs, but what it lacks in damage and RPM, it makes up for in controllability, as well as having basically assault rifle handling and almost velocity, which makes this gun surprisingly good for medium range. For our last medium range gun, we have the K2. This gun used to be super used. It can 3-shot kill to a pretty good range, has a decent rate of fire, and can 4-hit kill very far, almost to a range where it's basically like a G36 but less recoil and a 3-shot kill up close. And if you can't control the recoil, you can always use 223. And while it's not really my favorite gun and I don't really use it anymore, I used to use it a ton when it used to be super good. The only thing they really changed with it is the recoil. The recoil is a little bit higher than it used to be, but as you can probably tell, it's still pretty low. Now for our first long range gun, we have the MK11 or the Mark 11. While this thing can be pretty good for a close and medium range, it really performs well in long range, considering the RPM is a little bit slow for some people, and it holds up damage pretty well at range, being able to 3-hit kill anywhere in the body at any range, as well as being able to kill with 2 hits if one of them is a torso and one is a head. It kind of sucks we got Warehouse for the second game, because this is probably one of the worst maps to show off that the Mark 11 is a good long range gun, when this is like the map for close to medium range and wall banging. But then next up we have the TRG-42, which has, I believe, the farthest torso kill of any sniper that isn't an endless torso kill, which is to say that it can torso kill very far, but not everywhere. The 50 cals never lose their torso kill range, and while yes, this one does, it's not a super big deal because you can just headshot people at long range and has really good velocity. It shoots faster than the 50 cals. What was that? And while the velocity is not quite as good as the intervention, it's almost there, especially if you use the long barrel, and it's only slightly less, and it can limb kill up close. And last up for long range, you have the RPK-12. I'm not going to go super far into this one. I also have a pretty bad setup on it, but obviously it works really well at range. Even on this 1000 RPM hyperburst, if you have a good setup, which I don't, I have like a delta sight and a compensator, you can kill somebody at nearly any range, even if they're behind a wall, because it has 3 studs of pen with super armor piercing, and super armor piercing on this gun has very little downside. If this dropped from like a 3 to a 6 shot or something, then super armor piercing would kind of suck, or at least be a little bit more balanced, but it doesn't really matter on this one. It also has the reload time of the AK-47 for some reason, like messed up sincerely. But then you got the extreme ranges, and this is only 3 guns in my opinion. The BFG is good for extreme ranges, but the problem with it is that the other 250 cals are better. So we're going to start it off with, of course, the Hecate, and then there's 2 other guns, and both of them are snipers. They're the ones with the high zoom scopes, the incredibly high velocity, and the torso and headshot kills. You could say, okay, the SL9 headshot kills at all ranges. Well, it has half the velocity of the Hecate. Don't get me wrong, the SL9, great gun. But the second gun we have on this list is the intervention. You might be thinking, wouldn't the TRG be better than the intervention? Well, long range, actually no. I'll explain, because the TRG up close, it's going to do more damage, right? And it's going to torso kill a little bit farther, but at very long ranges, you can't torso kill anymore. And at very long ranges, the intervention actually does more limb damage and more torso damage, and still headshot kill, and shoots faster, and has a bigger mag, and has more velocity. So overall, it's basically a direct upgrade at very long ranges. The TRG has a bunch of upsides that make it better for close to medium range, but at very long ranges, when you completely lose your torso kill, there's no reason to use the TRG over the intervention. I'm not joking, the intervention even has more pen. It probably has about the same, if not better, handling as well, and more RPM and more velocity. I'm not saying the intervention is better than the TRG. We're doing the best guns for their respective ranges, and while the intervention is good and maybe better in some ways than the TRG in long range, it's in very, very, very long ranges where the intervention kind of shines. I've been in the same lobby this entire video, and we got Bazaar revamp, and then Warehouse, and then Bazaar revamp. But now I'm doing the very long range gun, the last one, the M107, which is basically a direct upgrade to the Hecate. At very long ranges, the M107 basically just shoots faster. It does a little bit less damage, but not as big of a difference as the difference between the TRG and the intervention, and also it shoots at double the speed of the TRG. This is basically a one-shot DMR with the advantage of having TRG muzzle velocity, and it has a conversion which only makes your damage ranges worse and your pen a little bit worse. I've talked about this in a video. I'll put it in the top right if I remember. It talks about this more. But yeah, gamers, I've been recording for a while. This might be a little bit of a longer video, but I'll see if I can actually shorten it down a little bit. But I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.